Hello, GMIS. Just wanted to walk you through after numerous planning hours here. I think I have the CDT/PSSA plan together. As I mentioned in the faculty meeting, I wanted to prep us so that this is kind of building the routine for students so they know when we get to PSSA time, this is who I go to, how I do this, and we can build this routine for CDT and PSSA. So I wanted to do a real quick tutorial walking through the document. It's a Google Sheets. If you notice at the bottom, there are two worksheets. There's a grade 5 and a grade 6 document. It goes through and it has the name of the home base, student last name, student first name, home base teacher. Then I broke it into two parts, ELA versus math. For ELA, who the test administrator is, what room they will be in, and computer. We are borrowing a cart from Mifflin Park. So you will see that I will have the Mifflin Park cart placed in the writing lab. And then those of you who need a laptop from the cart can pick up. I've assigned computers so that we know we have enough computers to cover everyone. The next column deals with audio. If audio needs to be turned on, accommodations for some people of small group, extended time, frequent breaks. If there's an other, sometimes there's a footnote at the bottom. For example, here in the other category, you see an X with a percentage. Percentage is about a changed test schedule, and the case manager will be able to fill you in with some of that. In this case, it would be Miss Holsey with that. Going back to where we were at the top, then I broke math out, same way, test administrator, the room, the computer assignments for that, and audio, small group, extended time, frequent breaks, other. And in some cases, column T on the far end here has some miscellaneous notes that special ed has provided to me. One of the questions we always run into is who is preparing the tickets for testing. So in this case, I'm looking at it, Miss Flores would prepare hers. In Mr. Drago's class, I'm going to ask Mr. Drago to prepare the math, Miss Flores to do ELA. However, Mrs. Yost has some students. Now, in thinking about this, as we put the test sessions together, the person who is administering will want to see the data. So in this case, I would think Mrs. Yost would want her students to be in her session. So when the session is over, she can go in and look at the data. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. For example, Mrs. Chris, we have some PASA students in there, as well as some others. I'm going to scroll down, though, when we get below the last home base teacher. So, for example, Miss Short is there. And then we go to Mrs. Yost. Mrs. Yost has multiple sessions, morning and afternoon. So in some cases, math intervention or diff, depending upon if it's an ELA or block, will not occur. So we will keep those students in regular ed on CDT days, depending upon that. So the priority will be that. However, Mrs. Palmer will also be proctoring a group. I'm going to ask Mrs. Yost to print the tickets for Mrs. Palmer. Miss Lefevre and Miss Gephardt are connected, so I'm going to ask Miss Lefevre to print those. In this case, Mrs. Fox and Mrs. Riley have a Spanish speaker, and that is on Miss Lefevre's caseload, so I'm going to ask her to print that one. Miss Holsey would print hers, and Mr. Holst would print hers. Jumping over to 6th grade, similar situation here after the home-based teachers are completed. Miss Berkeley would print Mr. Croco's. Miss Kurtz is going to print Miss Reinert's and Miss Wright's because those are all on her caseload. Mr. Holst would print his. Miss House will print hers. Miss Holsey will print hers. And we should be good to go. So I just kind of want to give you a layout of the land. I'm going to share this with you. It has commenting rights. So if you find something, put a comment in and I will try and fix it. But this is our game plan. And then finally, to special ed teachers, as we go through the IEP process, if things change, we'll update this. But this is the document we're going to use and share with the state if monitors show up for PSSA testing. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. During the testing, I'm going to ask Miss Reinert and Mrs. McKnight to be our CDT troubleshooters. I'm going to ask them to be located in Mrs. McKnight's room. So if you run into a technical question through this process, please call Mrs. McKnight's room at extension 5634, and we will troubleshoot either on the phone or we'll send someone out and get you help. Hope that explains everything. And thank you for your cooperation. And I apologize it took this long, but with this massive amount of information, I wanted to try and get it as accurate as I could. So thank you and enjoy.